I can promise you, you will never see me make the Nintendo YouTuber starter pack is insert game worth insert price video. I hate the price discourse that seems to never die in the Nintendo community, because to me, if a game isn't worth a given price, I just don't buy it. It's not worth the energy needed to complain about MSRP, because there's always another thing that's actually worth complaining about, that actually matters and is actually worth that energy. And more importantly, it's such a vapid complaint to begin with, in the sense that every time you see it circulating on the internet, it's because gamers are pleading with other people to feel the way they do about the value of a given product. And they beg because they know that more likely than not, the market will disagree with them, because they know at the end of the day, the game is worth the asking price. Then they'll do the capital G gamer derogatory thing and purport that the only reason people made whatever purchasing decision they made is because their shills are sheep. The latest villain of the week in this never-ending story is Mario Kart World, and unfortunately for gamers, derogatory, they couldn't have picked a worse target for this talking point, because Mario Kart World is yet another Nintendo Switch 2 game that has fulfilled a long time request of mine and many others, as someone that has waited a decade for a new Mario Kart game. And in a spiritual sense, I'd argue it's carrying the torch for an even older request for a lot of other Nintendo fans as well. Yo, have you ever thought to yourself, damn, this channel deserves more subscribers? Well, I have good news. You can be the change you want to see. Normally, this is the part of the video where I would tell you to like the video or subscribe or go to shop.watchredirect and cop things like this sick wallpaper behind me. I'm not going to tell you to not do those things, but more importantly, share this video with a friend you think may agree with the whole me deserving more subscribers thing. It's free, and they'll get videos like this in exchange. Okay, I'll shut up now. Or I guess more accurately, I won't shut up, but rather I'll actually talk about the thing you clicked on the video to hear me talk about. For years, I have endured the poorly thought out claim that we didn't need a new Mario Kart game, because what else could they do? And while obviously a fair bit of what World is doing is made possible by Switch 2's increased processing power, it submits a strong answer to what more could be done. There's of course the easy stuff like the ballooning of character roster size. There's the modern era Mario Kart solution of adding a slew of new driver abilities, like further embracing Mario's platforming roots with the charge jump ability. This move then enables things like wall riding and wall jumping, which to me add a new dynamic to races that didn't exist before with the relatively limited anti-gravity equivalent, since that ability was for specific walls, where this seems to be an optional maneuver you can utilize on any wall depending on the situation. On a similar note, charge jump also enables the ability to grind on rails, which to me is another evolution of the anti-gravity mechanic, which itself played on the boosting you get from drifting. The ability to grind will be yet another option for players to use or abstain from using depending on the situation for positional advantage, in a similar way to that drifting mechanic. And this brings me to the free roam and solo race exclusive rewind ability, which in some ways could save you a ton of time if you use it to take another shot at a big skip, but it could also shoot you in the foot, as this rewind feature isn't isolated from the race. It's essentially an on-demand lackey 2 that will take you back to an earlier point in the race while everyone else continues their forward momentum. There's the items that range from returning items from past games, like the Super Feather returning from the original Super Mario Kart, or the Mega Mushroom returning from Mario Kart Wii, to modest upgrades to existing items like the Ice Flowers or Coin Shell. And then there's the entirely new items like hammers and Kamek, the latter of which will shake up the game in some unprecedented ways, I think. Then there's all of the customization options for the characters you play by way of Yoshi's drive-thru that will unlock themed costumes for every character in the game. Costumes that are, in my opinion, better than the few we had in Mario Kart 8, some of which people paid real money for, now available to unlock for free, thereby adding hours of unlockable content to the game in a way that isn't forced or arbitrarily incentivized. For the people that are into that sort of thing, I personally prefer for characters to not be walled off even in this way, but that's another another story for another day in a different video. On that note, this game has absolutely exploded the character roster size and in a way that puts Mario Kart 8 specifically to shame. Like, are you kidding me? Rose Gold Peach? How about you play as a Super Mario World Dolphin or the penguin that everybody heartlessly murders in Super Mario 64? You could play as Goombas, Cow, who I wish was just named Moo Moo, Contours from Super Mario 3D World, and more. No confirmation of Mii's or more distressingly Diddy Kong from what I could tell though, and I'm telling you now, I will riot if they make us wait until DLC for Diddy Kong again. But as of right now, I'm personally feeling like Penguin is who I will use to atone for my childhood sins. Let me know in the comments who your Mario Kart World mains will be. Then there's a smaller quality of life stuff for those that need it, with tilt controls, auto acceleration, and smart steering returning, with an additional option for auto item use as well. It's not something I would use personally, but that's obviously a W for kids that are still learning and still want to be included. And I can also see this being an even bigger W in terms of accessibility. Also, tilt controls specifically, I know actual Mario Kart sweats that prefer tilt controls, so I'm sure they're glad to see them return. Not that they were in any danger at this point. Motion is arguably as integral to Nintendo as the D-pad, if not more, in 2025. On that topic of staples, there are the returning franchise-defining modes from past Mario Kart games making the return with varying degrees of improvement. You have the standard versus race that can be customized in all of the standard ways we already know. Sans 200cc, I think? They didn't show it at least. Not a fan myself, so this is a plus if it's not in the game for me personally, but I can see people being mad about this for sure. With the added ability of being able to create routes for interconnected marathon-styled Grand Prix races to enjoy, with the marquee feature that is the increased player count. And this then allows for an increase in the amount of teams for team races from 2 teams of 6 to a potential 4 teams of 6. Then we have the battle mode, which seems to be more akin to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's offering, which I am admittedly not huge on, with the added plus, debatable in my opinion, of the larger scope of the Mario Kart World. Then there's the coin runners mode, where you compete to finish a match with the most coins, which I think I personally prefer to the base battle options, but still, it's no block for it. So I'm not super amped on these battle modes so far, but I'm sure it will see some level of play from me to keep things fresh every once in a while. Time trials are of course here as well, with the added ability to upload and race against ghosts of people online's time trial runs, which should be useful, and I think I will be using as someone that likes to have a firm understanding of each course when actively playing Mario Kart, which, as an aside, I'm just excited to actually want to play a Mario Kart game again. There's so many courses in 8 Deluxe that I just never learned because I was so burnt out on that game. And all of that is before we even get to the true meat of the game. Everything else I just mentioned to you could have been new additions to a new original Nintendo Switch Mario Kart game. The wild thing is Mario Kart World could have stopped there and millions upon millions of people would have bought it, as they have every other Mario Kart before it, because that's what they've always done. Modest improvements are standard affair for this franchise. Mario Kart World though is going above and beyond. I ended the last section stopping short of highlighting every mode in Mario Kart World, as well as mostly glossing over the doubled player count for most of the aforementioned modes for online play, because these 3 that I'm about to go over now are tantamount to all of that other stuff combined in terms of the value proposition for Mario Kart World specifically. Free roam, I think, is seemingly more niche in terms of the online Nintendo community, but I can absolutely see it being the bulk of the game for so many others. Not only is it yet another way to intimately familiarize yourself with every nook and cranny of the open world, but Nintendo also decided to go a step further and layer that experience with hundreds of missions that test your skills, hidden collectibles, unlockable carts that can be found around the world, the ability to battle in the open world on the fly. And I mentioned this in my DK Bonanza video that you should add to your YouTube queue, but I can't stress enough how much I love a good photo mode. And again, it bears repeating, all of this can be done with 24 players. You race around the world, battle, or just drive around completing objectives and hanging out. Game chat is also an option for those of us who plan to pick up a Nintendo Switch 2 camera genre, and I have a lot of thoughts on that in particular, so rather than go over all of that in this here, I'll spin the block on this aspect of Mario Kart World in a dedicated game chat video later on. I'll just wrap up my free roam thoughts by saying, as kids, me and my sister used to just drive around in games like Need for Speed on the GameCube or Burnout on PS2, and this mode I think recreates that experience without the inherent guardrails in those games. I'm absolutely going to be present and accounted for doing stupid stuff with my friends in the open world when we're able to play this game. That is, when we're not playing all reliable. Grand Prix is back and expanded with the added wrinkle that instead of essentially being a series of meets, they're now compiled together as giant marathons. I'll say the glue holding them together seems to be a bit straightforward, literally, with all of them being straightaways, but that doesn't really change the fact that it changes the dynamic of a Grand Prix quite a bit. Now, I feel like long-term strategy has additional layers that I can't wait to see unfold. I'm curious to see if this will take a level of stamina that some people may opt out of. Like me, I'm down to go all in with a 60-turn Mario Party game every once in a while, but I know for some, even 15 is a stretch. I'm interested to see how each individual course will play into Grand Prix's design, because it's not just about theming and some level of diversity like past Grand Prix. It's also now about how these courses will be able to be grouped together in a way that feels natural in an open world, while still having the aforementioned quality. I'm curious to see how varied the increased scope will make individual races be. Like, how different can routes really be with the world being more wide open than it previously was? I'm excited to see how the new courses will be specifically time-stamped by this game's design in the inverse way to Mario Kart Tour's courses, how they're all relatively short and, in my opinion, uninteresting. I'm looking forward to seeing how old courses from other games will fit in, hopefully seamlessly, because again, some courses from some games are way more timeless than others and might not age very well, or maybe it will change Mario Kart games in the future for the better forever. Then, a mode that I think appeals to my sensibilities the most is the Knockout Tour mode, which to me feels like a hardcore mode for the standard Grand Prix mode, where now, instead of exclusively racing to place high on a leaderboard, you are racing to physically stay in the race, Fall Guy style. I know we're going to see chaos. It will be cutthroat. This is the mode everyone will talk about ruining friendships over. There will be so many good moments people will share across various social media platforms. This is the mode that will keep me playing the longest, but I will say it'll probably be primarily a new game plus sort of experience for me. I think I'll probably keep it at an arm's length for the most part until I'm really comfortable with the game. But once I am comfortable, I want to do Knockout Tour streams weekly for sure. I think that has the potential to be some of the most fun I have ever had with a Mario Kart game, bar none. Having said all of this, I think it's important to stress that we're getting all of this stuff when what most people on the internet were begging for was for the core value proposition of the next Mario Kart game after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to be Nintendo Kart. These people truly believed that a game that's marquee feature should be being able to use Kirby, Samus, and Star Fox as the feature that sells their game was not only worth their $60, but worthy of renaming Nintendo's most successful franchise after. If that isn't delusion, I don't know what is. At the end of the day, Mario Kart World and its MSRP are for people that it resonates with. It's not the job of Nintendo or the game or me to convince people that don't want something of its inherent value. All I can do is distill the information through the filter that is my perspective on the game's value. And as one of the literal millions that spent $157 on Mario Kart 8, or even just the people that spent $85 on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I'll say Mario Kart World is already at least matching the value of that game, its re-release, and its DLCs, if you're cynical, but in reality, exceeding it with all of the new additions and features I talked about here. That's not shilling, That's calling a spade a spade. Actual viewers of this channel would tell you I complain about Nintendo when it's warranted. To me, like when I spent the last 7 years or so telling people to stop spending money on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe so we can finally get a new game. But alas, the hate brigade doesn't have energy for the 60 million people that purchased, many of whom repurchased a game from 2015. People that literally made a port of a Wii U game the most successful Nintendo Switch game by far. Statistically, there's many people who only bought and played that old ass game. But again, no hate for them. These online haters only have the smoke for what such a fervent user base results in, a more valuable product. I say all of that to say, please, genuinely, if Mario Kart World isn't worth $80 to you, don't buy it. Don't even buy it used. Speak with your wallet, and Nintendo will be forced to course correct in the event that enough people agree with you. I personally don't agree. I will be giving them my money for the product I find appealing enough to match their asking price. Just like I did with even Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because at the end of the day, I know it will not only provide but exceed that value for myself, my family, and my friends. We'll see where everyone else lands. I'm sure the gamers will all totally be normal about the outcome. That's what I think. What do you think? Are you buying Mario Kart World? How much money did you spend on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Let me know that and more in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you made it this far, you owe me a like, at least, maybe even a subscription. I don't make the rules. If you're already subscribed, it's all good. You could pay your dues in shares to friends. Or if you're feeling particularly generous, click the join button, or even better, go check out shop.watchredirect.com, where you can be added to the credits amongst other things like Redirect's executive producer, Trev L. Steinberg, or any of the other names you see scrolling on the screen. Okay, that's it for me. See you in the next video.